Now we are talking of the temporal dimension, temporal discipline, organizing music in time. Now time is perhaps the most mysterious aspects of our experience, but we experience time only as the gaps between different events. Now, because there are many events happening and there are gaps between these events, you experience time. That is how time is experienced. Which is why perhaps sometimes when nothing is happening, you feel the time to drag on and on and on. Or when too many things are happening, an actually long period you may experience it as a very short period. So the experience of time happens as gaps between events. Now that is Laya, for instance. The Laya of my speech, my talking to you, is the gaps that are there between each word that I utter. And sometimes there are longer gaps, sometimes there are very, very short gaps. But overall, there is a certain, an overarching Laya, speed, that informs the performance. In music, these events between which you can experience time are the accents, the stresses. Now, in a music like rock performance or film music, the stresses are very apparent, they can be very easily heard. But in classical music, the stresses are not that apparent. Now let us listen to this piece and you will be able to see what I am talking about. Classical music, even Western classical music or Indian classical music, the music is created such that the beats are not always heightened. Let us listen to Sanjay Subrahmanyam singing a composition of Shyama Shastri. Mayamma anine pilachite matladarada. Please try to see what you feel about the stresses of the song, whether you can see the beats of the composition.
Yamna yanine பம்பம எம் எனி யம மீனாட்சம் மகயம மீனாட்சம் மகயம யம வேரதி கேவரம் வேரதி கேவரம் சரசிஜபவகரி ஹரனுத சுலலிதனி அம்ப சரசிஜபவகரி ஹரனுத சுலலிதனி அம்ப சரசிஜபவகரி ஹரனுத சுலலிதனி பதபங்கஜமுன சரசிஜ பவகரி ஹரனுத சுலலிதனி பதபங்கஜமுன சரசிஜ பவகரி ஹரனுத சுலலிதனி பதபங்கஜமுன ஸ்திரமணி நவமிதி நம்மிதி நம்மிதி பதபங்கஜமுன ஸ்திரமணி நம்மிதி 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 பதபங்கஜமுன ஸ்திரமணி ஸ்திரமணி நம்மிதி நம்மிதி கருண ஜூடவே காத்யாயனி காளிகா பவனி கருண ஜூடவே காத்யாயனி காளிகா பவனி கருண ஜூடவே காத்யாயனி காளிகா பவனி பரமேஸ்வரி சுந்தரேஸ்வரயனி பலம்ப மதுரவாணி பரமேஸ்வரி சுந்தரேஸ்வரயனி
Mayamma anine pilachite matlada radha. These are the words of the composition. So you see how long it takes me to utter it. Mayamma anine pilachite matlada radha. But how is it organized in the composition? How are these words organized? How are they spread out in time? It goes something like this. Ma anine pilachite ma anine pilachite matlada radha nato matlada radha nato matlada radha Ambamayamma anine. So, ma yamma anine pilachite. This is how the words are distributed, are spread out in time. So, this is where the concept of tala comes in. How are the songs, compositions of Carnatic music, how are they bound or how are they tied in time? What is the kind of temporal order that they are given, compositions in Carnatic music? This is where tala comes in. Tala is the principle of ordering compositions, ordering the music itself in time. And tala is essentially a certain time frame, a time unit that is recurrent, and the composition is spread over this recurrent tala cycle. So, this time frame that I spoke about, over which, over recurrent such frames, there is a time frame, there is a time unit of time, and that recurs and the composition is spread over it. And this time frame, that one cycle, that one unit is a cycle of the tala. In this case, what I sang just now, Mayamma anine pilachite, this is an Adi Tala, it is called Adi Tala, and the time frame here, the time unit is of 8 beats. Now 8 beats It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not like that. This is a small cycle. It's a short cycle which you can actually, it is relatively easier to follow, to maintain, even with just the sense of rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now here we are talking of a much longer time unit. Here 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on till 8. Well, that is one unit of the tala, that is one cycle of the tala as it is called. And how is this tala cycle marked? How do you, what is the reference for this tala unit? Because if it is going to be such a long duration, it won't be easy for us to just keep it in the head. That is where the hand gestures come into play. This tala cycle is expressed, it is performed actually by hand gestures, and not just any arbitrary, vague or changeable hand gestures. These are specified and explicit hand gestures. It's not like something like this 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, waving of the hand anyway, or beating like this, or anything else. It's not vague, unspecified hand gestures. These are very specific, codified hand gestures. It means, in this case, Aditalam, which is the most commonly used tala. This is the end of one tala cycle. Or if I take this is a slower composition, the tala cycle, the duration is much longer. If for the purposes of demonstration I take a shorter tala cycle, this is a very well known composition in Hamsadhvani Raga. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Varana Shamvara Pradam Shri Varana Shamvara Pradam Shri Varana Shamvara Pradam Shri Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapatim. So, this is Aditala, a cycle of 8 beats. As you could see, the hand gestures are repeated continuously. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, 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 Varana Shamvara Pradam Shri Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. So, irrespective of whatever happens in the composition, the tala will be maintained continuously as long as the composition is being sung. So, this is how the temporal organization of compositions in Carnatic music happens. It is not just a simple matter of 4 beats or 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are relatively simpler rhythms which do not need this kind of a support. But because the temporal units are longer or of longer duration, we need a reference, an external reference. Just as we need an external reference for the drone, and which is what we have the tambura for. So, also we have an external reference for the temporal aspect, the rhythm, if you want to call it that. Though tala is not rhythm, it is translated frequently as rhythm, but tala is actually the temporal unit within which the composition is spread out, within which it is organized. So, just as I said, we have an external reference for the drone, which with whose support we can seek shruti, we can seek the pitches, the correct pitches. So, also we have the external reference of the tala being performed on the hand, with the help of which we can seek to achieve a good laya. Of course, an internal sense of the pitch is also indispensable, just as an internal sense of laya is indispensable. If you do not have the internal sense, no amount of outside reference can help you, but the outside external reference helps you maintain it. It helps you maintain your pitch, it helps you maintain your laya.